Hello friends, I'm Tim Wildsmith, and in this video I'm going to be explaining a bunch of different terms from the world of premium Bibles. I get messages and comments from people all the time who say, "Hey Tim, I was watching one of your videos and you said this word or phrase that I didn't recognize. What does that mean?" And almost every single time it comes down to what I would call premium Bible terminology. A word or a phrase that is common in the world of premium Bibles, but not a lot of people out there would know it unless they're really familiar with that world. So I made a list of over 40 terms in the world of premium Bibles, and I'm going to go through them one by one right now as quickly as I can. I'm not going to take up all of your time, but I want to help you understand. Refer back to this video. If you're like, "Hey, what does that mean? What does that mean?" You can come back to this video and I'm going to tell you all about it. At the end, I'm going to need you to pay attention. If I don't explain something that you think should be in this video, you got to leave me a comment and let me know and I'll answer that. So, literally over 40 terms. Are you ready for this? Let's do this. Number one, raised hubs. I get this question all the time. Raised hubs right here on the spine of a Bible. Some of them have little raised hubs on the spine. That is a decorative feature. Some people would talk about how it might give the Bible, the spine, a little bit of support when you open it. But that is just, raised spines mean there's a little bit of a raised, it's actually a piece of leather underneath the cover. It's often a piece of leather or something else that kind of creates something to jut out on the spine. It's an aesthetic feature. I like it a lot. I think it looks great. Opposite of that, term number two, is tooled ribs. So if a raised hub is coming out, a tooled rib like this one is an indention. R.L. Allen does this on all of their Bibles. There are these little lines that are indented into the spine of the Bible. So that is a tooled rib versus a raised hub. Make sense? Okay. Number three, like a tooled rib is a tooled line. Also here on this R.L. Allen Bible, you can see a little line all the way around the outside of the Bible. That's called a tooled line. Some Bibles, when they have like full yapp, like this one right here, it's going to have a tooled line a little bit further on the inside. And then on the outside, number four is a perimeter stitch. That's when the perimeter of the Bible actually has a stitch in it. It's got sewn thread that stitches it in there. The tooled line is just an aesthetic touch. A lot of people like that. The perimeter stitch is mostly aesthetic, but it also serves to support the little piece of leather that wraps over onto the interior liner and it holds that down. All of them are going to be glued no matter what. It doesn't need a perimeter stitch, but that kind of adds it to it. So it's both an aesthetic feature, it's just a look thing, I really like it, and also helps to keep the edge of the leather to stay down. Okay, 4. 5. Foil or blind stamp. So I've got a couple in here. So a blind stamp, most of these Bibles you can see, they've got a gold foil or a bronze foil or some type of metallic foil that is stamped into the side of the Bible. Oftentimes there's some stamping on the front when it says Holy Bible. That is a gold stamp or a foil stamp. But then you have certain Bibles where they do the stamp, but they don't put any of the foil in there. This Bible right here, this is the Wellington leather from Crossway. There's stamping in there. It says Holy Bible, ESV, Crossway on there, but there's no color in there. So it's just stamped into the leather. So when I talk about something being blind stamped, that's a blind stamped, whereas a foil stamp is the one where you can see it kind of pop out through the gold. Colorway. Okay, colorway is actually a phrase, I think that I coined this phrase in the world of Bibles. So a colorway is something that I borrowed from the tennis shoe world, the sneaker world. In the sneaker world, they talk about colorway. So it's just the different leathers, the different colors, the different laces, all of it put together is called a colorway. So that's the phrase I use when I'm talking about, so this would be the Shamar goatskin navy blue colorway from Steadfast Bible. So it's got a blue cover, it's got a navy liner, it's got 3 different ribbons. I talk about that a lot, but I've kind of brought that phrase over from sneaker world. So when I talk about a colorway, I'm just talking about the different combination of colors for the leathers and the materials and things like that. So when I say I really like this colorway, I'm just saying I like the aesthetic look and vibe of the overall Bible. So that was number 6. Raised hubs, tooled ribs, tooled line, perimeter stitch, blind stamp, foil. Okay, yapp. Everybody asked me about yapp. Yapp is simply the extra leather that hangs over the text block. If I say that a Bible has full yapp, that means that the leather stretches over and touches. So this does not have full yapp because the leather doesn't touch. Whereas this Bible right here has full yapp because the leather from the front and the back cover will touch and wrap around the block. That is, again, mostly an aesthetic touch. When I first started reviewing Bibles, I hated this look. I was not a fan of full yapp Bibles. Now I love it. I don't know, something changed over time. But also, it has a practical function that if you train the yapp, we talk about yapp training. That actually wasn't on my list, but that's a phrase. Yapp training is when you get to lay down a little bit. It protects the page edges. So if you're carrying this Bible into church and it's raining, that water will mess up the gold on the page edges. So if you have this full yapp trained down, it will actually serve to protect the edges of your pages of your Bible. So yapp is the amount of leather that hangs over. Every Bible has a little bit of yapp, and so there's full yapp, semi-yapp. All of that is just talking about the leather that hangs over the edges of the Bibles. Okay, gilt line. A gilt line is the line, if it has it, it's an inside gold line around the inside. Obviously, that is just an aesthetic look and feel, just a touch, but there's a gold line kind of in, it's opposite the perimeter line on the inside. It just kind of gives a little pop of gold on the inside of the liner. That is a gilt line. Okay, edge lined versus paste down. So in the premium Bible world, it's kind of an old school style of construction, but an edge line, you can see when you look at the inner side of the liner, there's a little tab. It's usually about 1/2 inch to 1 inch wide in there. And basically, the Bible, the text block, is kind of floating. The leather has these little tabs, the cover, the outside leather, the inside leather, and it has these tabs. And so that tab is where the book block is attached to the cover. The only place that it's attached is this little 1 inch tab right there and right there. This tends to make premium Bibles that are edge lined a little bit more soft and floppier because they've got that less, it's not paste down. The opposite is paste down, where the text block is the last page of the in sheet is pasted down to the cover. It's fully pasted in there. So this is just a little bit more floppy and flexible. I would argue, I've seen a ton of Bibles. They say it's more durable, it's more long-lasting. I've got a ton of Bibles that are paste-down Bibles that are still floppy and still durable, but edge-lined is, and it's more expensive. When you do an edge-lined construction, it takes more time, it takes more labor, so it's going to drive up the cost of it, but it is a premium touch on Bible. So you have a traditional book, it's pasted down. Traditional Bible, it's pasted down. A lot of premium Bibles, there are paste-down premium Bibles, but a lot of premium Bibles are going to be edge-lined construction. In sheet. So the in sheet, when I talk about an in sheet, is simply the last sheet on the front of the text block. Most of the time, if it's an edge-lined Bible like this, you have that tab that goes up inside there, and then they put an in sheet over the top of those pages and glue them down. A lot of people, I've seen Tim Nichols talk about this, a lot of these pages, the in sheets, seem like they're stuck together. Don't pull those apart. That is the in sheet covering up the edge-lined tab. And so it's just a different sheet. When you go into different books and Bibles and stuff like that, sometimes the in sheets can be like a special color or something like that. But oftentimes they're just going to try to match them up. Like this Allen Bible, a navy in sheet matching a navy leather liner. Super, super simple, super clean. So that's the in sheet. Oxford Hollow. I've had a couple of people ask me about this. Not all premium Bibles have this, but some premium Bibles have what's called an Oxford Hollow. And that's basically, I think, if you took the width of the Bible, of the spine of the Bible, and then doubled it and made like a little tube, right? It's like a little tube that is flattened down and it's placed on the spine. It reinforces the spine, but I've also been told that it helps the Bible lay more flat. It's an Oxford Hollow. So if you were able to look into the spine, you would see like a hollowed out tube in there that's kind of been pressed down. That's what an Oxford Hollow is. Similar in the same zone of the Bible, head and tail bands, also just an aesthetic touch. It's decorative. There's a little piece, a band up here at the top of the text block and the bottom of the text block. Most publishers, they put those in there just to cover up where they're gluing the text block into the spine of the Bible. So it's just in there. It's like a little piece of ribbon or thread up there that usually matches the inside of the Bible. Sometimes, like this one right here I have from Flourish, is kind of a blue and white staggered pattern. Looks really cool. I like that one a lot. So it's just a decorative element on there. Art gilding. Okay. Art gilding is when you look at a Bible, a premium Bible, on the spine, you'll see Bibles that have like a little bit of gold on there, but then you also see Bibles that have a color. So this is called blue under gold. So it's got gold foil stamping on the outside, and then it's got a blue page dye. It's actually, in the industry, they say blue under gold, but the gold is actually put down first. So it's actually blue over gold. So they put the gold on the edges of the pages and then they spray the blue. But the effect is when you see it from the outside, it's gold, but when you open it up, you see the blue on the edges of the pages. Most Bibles in the premium Bible world, the standard is red under gold. So when you open it up, you see a little bit of red on the pages. That's the dye, and then it's gold. But you can do, there's some Bibles that, based on the colorway, they'll do blue under silver, purple under silver, red under gold, those sorts of things. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about art gilding, is the dye and the gilding of the gold or the silver on that. Does that make sense? Art gilding. It's often gold leaf or silver leaf that's on the edge of the pages, and then the dye is like archival ink or something like that. So page dye, when I talk about page dye, if it doesn't have gold, if it just has dye, that's not very common, but that would be the dye there. Speckled page edges. I have this right here from R.L. Allen. So speckled page edges, they call it antiquarian style page speckling, is an old format where they put down a red dye and then they speckle it with blue and gold and other colors. I really like this. I think it looks really, really unique. And it's just a different look and feel, mostly R.L. Allen, although some of the other publishers out there, I know Zondervan has done some speckled page edges. I think those are the two that primarily do it, but Allen does it quite a bit. Now, gauffered page edges, here's a Bible from Zondervan. They've been doing this more. It's like got a design in the gilding. So it doesn't have the red under the gold. It's got the gold and then it has this design in it, which honestly, that's not my favorite. It's a little bit of a flourish for me that I don't think is necessary because I'm more of a simple and clean person, but a lot of people like these different designs that you can put in there. It looks kind of cool. Okay, ribbons. A lot of different companies make ribbons. You're going to see skinny ribbons. You're going to see thick ribbons. What you want to know is that there's a word that I use, Beresfords. Now, I see this all the time, a little bit of a pet peeve. It's a company in the UK called Beresfords. It's not Beresford apostrophe S. It's Beresfords is the name of the company. So when we talk about Beresfords ribbons, you don't say Beresford ribbons, you say Beresfords because that's the name of the company. They're just really high quality ribbons. Now, I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, Jacob, I think it's Jacob from Reformed and Rebound, Bible Rebinds. I think he doesn't even like Beresford, so he uses a different type of ribbon, but you're often going to see the word Beresfords on different publisher websites, and that's kind of like just them saying, hey, we're using the best of the best when it comes to Bible ribbons. Gauffered page edges, ribbons. Speaking of titles and names, Royal Youngblood. Royal Youngblood, or simply Youngblood, spelled with a J. It is the premier Bible manufacturer. When I say Bibles are printed and bound at Royal Youngblood in the Netherlands. So this is a Bible printing company that creates these Bibles, that manufactures these Bibles in the Netherlands. Very, very world famous for this. Schuyler, Allen, Cambridge, Crossway, lots of different companies work with Royal Youngblood to produce their Bibles. Top end, they can produce, sometimes they just do the text block and somebody else binds it. They can do the entire thing and they are top-notch quality, over the top. Obviously, they're expensive because they're the best of the best, but they do really good work. So Royal Youngblood is a company that creates and manufactures the Bibles on behalf of publishers. You'll often see in some of the Bibles that I review by Holman, Thomas Nelson, other companies like that, they're doing printing in other places like China and India and Korea and things like that. And if you look in the notes of the Bible, they often don't say Youngblood, but you can see like RRD is, it's actually an American company that prints in China called R.R. Donnelley. There's another company in China called Amity. These are companies that print Bibles in other places. Same as Royal Youngblood, but they're just in different countries around the world. 2K Denmark. I talk about 2K Denmark a lot. My friend Klaus, he's the 2K, Klaus Crow. It is a type foundry. They create typesettings for Bibles. So when I talk about typesettings and typefaces, so when I talk about, in a second, I'm going to talk about the inside of these Bibles. So 2K Denmark designs, there's like what's called Bible serif. Bible serif is a typeface, a style of font that is used in a lot of different Bibles. Holman uses it in the CSB. Tyndale uses it in the NLT. Other companies use it as well. They design the actual letters that go into the Bibles. And then they also design the typesettings, which is the whole layout of the Bibles. 2K Denmark is particularly well known because they did a whole suite of typefaces for the HarperCollins Christian Publishers, which is Zondervan and Thomas Nelson. They're called the Comfort Print typefaces. They made a book about it. I've reviewed that on my channel. So they have a different typeface for each translation of the Bible that is designed to be comfortable to read. It's designed to be easy on the eyes and make it really great. So Klaus and his entire team at 2K Denmark doing an incredible job with designing the actual letters, the typefaces, but also designing the type settings, the layout and the design of the Bibles as well. They do that a lot. So I'll often mention those in my video. Okay, getting to the inside. A smyth-sewn, often called smyth-sewn, but it's pronounced smyth-sewn, is basically a way of I'm going to back up one. A new term is signatures. So signatures, most Bibles, all Bibles, the pages are produced in little chunks. So this Bible right here is actually, when you see it on the side, you can see little spaces in between it. This is like probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's probably 20 or 30 different signatures, which are collections of pages that are printed together. Smyth-sewn is when all of those different signatures are sewn together. It makes it extremely durable, it makes it flexible, it makes it be allowed to lie flat. Versus a non-premium Bible, a lot of non-premium Bibles are smyth-sewn, but they'll be glued and things like that, where it's not going to be as flexible. It's going to fall apart easier over time. So smyth-sewn is sewing together the text block. Sometimes you'll see in my videos, you'll see stitches coming through where I can point them out. That's because it's a smyth-sewn text block. I prefer that over a glued text block. The signatures I talked about, one of the phrases people ask about all the time is GSM. GSM is a paper measurement. So paper is obviously different depending on where you get it from and what it's made of and all of those things, but GSM stands for, I believe it's grams per square meter, and it's a way of measuring the weight of paper. A higher GSM is typically going to be slightly thicker, and it's going to be heavier, and in theory, it's going to be more opaque, meaning there is less light getting through the paper. That's a good thing in Bible world because Bible paper, because there's so many pages in a Bible, the paper has to be really, really thin. And so you want it to have as much opacity as possible so that the words are not showing through from the other side of the page, so it makes a good reading experience. Some companies use 28 GSM paper. Other companies use 32 GSM paper. Some companies use paper that's French milled in France. It's like the highest, best quality paper. Some companies don't use that. They use paper from all other places. It's very, I started to do a video all about Bible paper, and I realized that it's so complex because depending on how much titanium is in your paper and where you got it from and how you made it, it can be totally different. But that's what I talk about GSM. In theory, a higher GSM paper, so a GSM that's 40 is going to be more opaque and thicker, and the pages are going to be thicker than the text block, is going to be thicker than something that's 28 GSM or 22 GSM. Does that make sense? So GSM, another one is PPI. I never talk about that, but it's pages per inch. That's another. So how many pages can you fit in an inch? It's giving you a little bit of the thickness. Opacity is on my list. I just described opacity as the amount of light that shows through. I will often call that show through. I'll call it ghosting. So ghosting is when I'm looking at a page, am I seeing the ghost of the words on the other side of the page bleeding through? If a paper is not very opaque, then it will show more through and it'll cause a little bit more struggle for you as you're reading. So you've got lots of factors, like I said, the titanium, the formation of the paper, the amount of, I think it's titanium dioxide, the amount of coating and the type of coating that's on a page. It's really, really fascinating. Okay, typeface is the font, the letters. There are different styles of typefaces. So you can have a sans serif or a serif typeface. You can have a standard, a weighted typeface, so a bold or a semi-bold. So those are all in the typeface family. So when I talk about a typeface, I'm talking about the actual letters. When I talk about a typesetting is going to be the layout on the page. Typesetting includes the typeface, the size of the type. By the way, when I say this one is 10 point and that one is 11 point, Not all points are created equal. There's like a standardization, but not all of them are the same. Some publishers say this is a 9-point font. I'm like, that looks more like a 10. Some people say it's a 9-point font. I'm like, that looks more like a 7, you know? So a little bit here, there, but the typesetting is going to include the typeface. It's going to include the size. It's going to include things like the kerning and the leading. So the kerning is the space between the letters. The leading is the space between the lines. As you can imagine, when a typesetting is done right and the right spacing is given to you, it makes it easier for you to read. Sometimes you open up a Bible and the words are really tight and the lines are really tight. That is not very comfortable to read. Sometimes you go up and the lines are too far apart. That's not very comfortable to read. So part of the typesetting is getting that stuff. Line matching. That's where the words on this side of the page are lined up. The lines on this side of the page are lined up with the lines on that side of the page. That makes that whole issue of ghosting less noticeable, because if you make sure that they're lined up on the page, then the back side of the page doesn't have lines of text coming through in the spaces between the lines on this side of the page, so you're going to have less ghosting. It includes the margin space. I talk about this a lot of times. I don't like text blocks where the text falls into the gutter or goes too close to the margin. So the margin is going to be, the margin is going to be the space around the text block. The gutter is the part on the inside right here. So how much negative space is on the page? All of those things are typesetting. Single column, double column, things like that. All of those are the layout of the design on the page. That's what I mean when I say typesetting. Okay. I got about 10 more. Are you still with me? Rebind. So a rebind, here's one right here from Flourish Bibles. Shout out to Lindsay and Luis. A rebind is a Bible where you've taken the original Bible and usually you've ripped the cover off of it and you've sent it to a rebinder. This is a leathersmith who can then customize and give you a new cover on your Bible. They are rebinding it. Lindsay, in this case, used a really cool concrete gray cowhide, and on the inside, she used a synthetic crocodile kind of, what is this? Was it crocodile? No, it's like a blue, really cool. And a rebind is a great way to take a Bible that you love and either give it new life if it's a little bit beat up, or to customize it and make it really special and make it exactly what you want it to be. Okay, names of publishers. Schuyler. If you've watched my channel very much, Schuyler is an American company that does premium Bibles in a bunch of different translations. Right here is their most recent NLT Bible, the NLT Personal Size Quintel. They do tons of different colorways, tons of different translations, a lot of different typesettings. They give them a name. So this is the Personal Size Quintel. They have a bigger version called the Quintel. They have a single column Bible called the Traveris. They have another single column reference Bible called the Stridon. They have some KJV Bibles called the Canterbury series. They have a lot of different Bibles, and I would say pound for pound, Schuyler is probably right now producing the nicest, highest quality Bibles across the most different translations in the world. They are doing an incredible job. I believe they're based in Virginia. They work with Royal Youngblood, 2K Denmark, lots of different folks. They produce in lots of different translations. Allen, R.L. Allen, one of my favorite companies, a smaller company located in the United Kingdom. They've been around for a couple hundred years. They have the rights to all of the old Oxford University typesettings of the King James Version called the Long Primer and a bunch of other ones as well. So they produce a lot of really beautiful KJV Bibles, but then they do Bibles in the ESV, a lot of different translations, lots of different Bibles. And they kind of have like a more vintage classic style. They look a little bit more subdued, although they have produced some really wild colors in the last few years, but really, really classic, lovely designs and a lot of different versions. They don't produce as many or release as many Bibles as Schuyler, so they tend to become a little bit more collectible. I've done a few videos on my channel this year about some really cool Allen Bibles. Cambridge, I would consider Allen, Cambridge, and Schuyler, kind of the big three in the premium Bible world. Cambridge is also located in the UK, Cambridge University. They're part of Cambridge University Press. They have their own editions of the KJV. This is actually a collab between Cambridge and Schuyler. Well, Schuyler, this is confusing for a lot of people. Schuyler is the same company or the same folks as evangelicalbible.com. Maybe they're not technically the same company, but evangelicalbible.com is a website that sells a lot of premium Bibles. The same folks behind that website formed Schuyler Bibles. And so this is actually a collab a special colorway that they did of a Cambridge Bible with evangelicalbible.com. It was like an exclusive to their website. But similarly, they produce Bibles in lots of different translations. They have some classic KJV, Cambridge typesettings, but then they also do, this is the Concord, one of my all-time favorite Bibles, but they also do Bibles in modern translations as well. Lots of different designs. They have the Pitt Minion, the Clarion, the Topaz, which I really love, which is a newer one. They have some different ones that are kind of their own standalones in like the NRSV and stuff like that. Really, really cool company in the UK making very, very, very premium Bibles. Humble Lamb, newer on the scene in the last 5 or 6 years in Kentucky. They do currently NASB, KJV, NKJV, NASB. As I'm recording this video, they're working on an NLT Bible. Daniel and Humble Lamb has kind of created a new version of premium Bible world. They're a very modern looking company, really care about graphic design and the aesthetic quality of these Bibles. They do things cool, like you can see it's not a gauffered page edge, it's called a 4-edge design. So there's like a picture in the edges of the Bible. They do this with and without. Beautiful, beautiful Bibles, beautiful typesetting. Small company, but doing really, really cool stuff. All their Bibles say the Word of God on the spine. I really like Humble Lamb. They do a great job. Okay, the Heirloom Collection. When I talk about the Heirloom Collection, that is the premium Bibles from Crossway. Crossway is the primary publisher of the ESV, the English Standard Version, and their premium Bibles are called the Heirloom Collection. The Premier Collection, same thing, is a series of premium Bibles from both Thomas Nelson and Zondervan. They're kind of sister companies, and they produce premium Bibles under the banner, the Premier Collection. The Prime Collection, or the Prime Editions, is from Lockman Foundation. They're the copyright holder of the New American Standard Bible, and they started producing some premium Bibles a couple years ago. Really, really lovely Bibles that remind me a lot of Crossway's Heirloom Collection. They call them the Prime Editions. Let's see here. What else do I have? Steadfast. Where is it? I lost it. Steadfast Bibles is the Bible printing division of 316 Publishing, and they do a bunch of Bibles that are premium as well. All of their Bibles are under Steadfast. They don't have a name for their premium collection editions, but they have a lot of different premium Bibles as well. And then the HHC Holman Handcrafted Collection, those are the premium Bible lines from the folks at Holman who produce the CSB as well as the NASB and the KJV in the Holman Handcrafted Collection. Allen, Schuyler, Steadfast, Holman, Humble Lamb, Cambridge, Allen again, Lockman, Premier Collection, Heirloom Collection. What is this? This is a rebind from Flourish Bibles. That was over 40 different premium Bible terms. I'm going to be honest with you, I'm kind of exhausted. This video was exhausting, but I hope that it was helpful for you as you learn premium Bible terminology. Did I forget anything? I have to have forgotten something. I worked over this list like multiple times, so I hope that I didn't forget anything. But if there is a premium Bible term that you know or don't know, and I didn't cover it in this video, leave me a comment, let me know. I'll try to answer that. Maybe I'll do an addendum to this video as well. I always appreciate your comments. I appreciate your feedback, and I appreciate you watching these videos. If you've made it this far, thank you very much. Please click the like button on this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and definitely share this with your friends and surf around my channel and check out some other videos while you're here. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you next time.